how many people in this room have had their photo taken in a photo booth? Maybe I was better off asking how many people did not have their photo booth. It seems like everyone here is taking their photo in a photo booth. So that concept of taking a photo in a photo booth has been around 120 years. The first photo booth actually was designed 120 years ago. So I'm not original. It's not an original idea. It's not something that I came up with on my own. What I did was I made a good business plan. I had passion in my life about what I wanted to do. And when I started, and I did this, I was your age. Now, how did this all happen? From sitting in class to making this happen 35 years later. So where I'm going to go with it, I'm going to try to walk you through it as quickly as I can because so many things have happened in 35 years that I can't possibly do it in a half hour. But I'm going to tell you a couple of quick stories. Early years. My early years started basically when I was born. My dad was in this business. He wasn't in the photo booth business, but he was a technician living in Brooklyn. And after World War II, he fixed machines. He came out of World War II and he fixed machines. He fixed pinball machines. He fixed jukeboxes. These things were complicated. They had wires everywhere. You look inside them, it was like spaghetti everywhere. I don't know how he did it, but he did a great job at it. But what he taught me was relationships. He taught me how to respect relationships with different people. And that's important. And two of the things that if I could pass off something to you here on this day is one, relationships, and two is passion. Those two things together in business really go hand in hand. If you have passion, you never work. I tell my kids I have a 20-year-old son and a 21-year-old daughter. They're both in the same situation you are. They're looking at what kind of career, where do I go, what do I do? What's my life going to be about? What kind of job? What kind of career? If you're going to spend half your life working. You wake up, you sleep for 8 hours, you work for 12 hours. Americans, we work 12 hours a day. Sometimes longer. I've never put a day in work. I've never worked a day in my life. I go to work on Monday morning, I look forward to it. To me, it's not work, it's a passion. I like doing what I do. So whatever you choose, make sure you like doing what you do. It's real, real important. From that, if you have passion with it, it's not like going to work. It's fun. So with that, my early years, highlight, 13 years old, went to work with my dad one day, and he took me to a distributor of coin-operated vending equipment. The name of the company was called Albert Simon Incorporated on 10th Avenue and 42nd Street. We walked in, this is 40 years ago. We walked in to this distributorship on 10th Avenue, and I saw blinking lights. I saw games, not video games, they didn't exist at that time, but mechanical games, car racing machines, motorcycle games, gun games, simulators. A 13-year-old walking into something like that. What do you think happened? Oh my God, this is great. This is the best thing in the world. I thought I walked into heaven. First thing out of my mouth was, Dad, you should be doing this. This is great. This is unbelievable. With that, an old man comes over and puts his hand around my neck. Who is it? Albert Simon. Back in those days, they came to work in a suit and tie every day. And he had a very thick Jewish accent. He said, kid, I'm going to teach you two things. I was shaking. I was ready to shake. 13-year-old, this old man comes over. By the way, old he was my age. Puts his hand around my neck and he says, I'm going to teach you two things. First thing is, whatever your father does for a living, you be proud of it. So the second thing, this is no business. This is not a business. I looked at him like he was crazy. Big showroom with all the games. This is where the relationship comes in. His relationship with my dad, he liked my dad. So because he liked my dad, he took me by the hand. And he took me in a freight elevator, took me downstairs. And downstairs he showed me a factory. They were building photo booths, old chemical photo booths. So this is a business. And here's the important part. He explained to me the business model, his business model of what it was. And his business model made sense to me. He manufactured the machines, and then he placed them in stores all over the world. All over the country, not over the world. In that day and time, there were stores similar to Walmart and Kmart. Those stores back then were called F.W. Woolworth. They're out of business now. Another one was called Corvettes. You may remember that back in Brooklyn. But these same type of stores. And these chemical machines, but all over the country, he would place them. But he did not sell the machines. What he would do is he put an ad in a local paper and say, own your own route. Heard you talking about that earlier today. No money down. Right after the Depression, people were looking for jobs. Fantastic. I don't have to buy anything. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is go fix the machines, change the film, and buy the film from this guy, Albert Simon. He owns the machine, but I get to do the route. Albert Simon was very smart. But he figured out if he sold the machine, that's it. He makes his money one time, and he's done. But if he continues to own the machine, and he sells the film that goes into the machine, sort of like the razor blade, razor and a razor blade, they got to keep coming back to him to buy the film. And he figured out if the machine stays there 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, he gets paid over and over and over and over again. Makes a lot more money than just selling the machine one time. That was his story to me. 13 years old, we walk out and I go, okay, that crazy guy. I go on with my life. I'm a little bit older than you. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Pong, Pac-Man, Asteroid. Any those names all sound familiar to you guys? Okay. That was my age. That was my era. This was a life changer. It was a game changer. It was something that no one saw before. It was exciting. You put a Pac-Man machine into a pizza place, it did $800 for the week. At the end of the week, you couldn't pick up the cash box. There was so much money in it. How much do you think a Pac-Man cost? $800 at that time. So in 1 week, you made your money back. You gave half the money to the owner of the pizza place, and the other half you walked away with. So 2 weeks, you got your money back completely. Made a lot of money. Right? We went on to building game rooms. We went on to building arcades. Again, really didn't start with a whole lot. Didn't have a lot of money. My dad was a technician. He didn't make a lot of money. But his relationships allowed me to get credit. People they knew, they said, oh, that's a good kid. So they saw me going to work with my dad. They saw me handing him the screwdriver. They saw me doing stuff with him. That's what worked for me. Right? I'm married, had 2 kids, 1990. I said, uh-oh, things aren't so good. The game rooms started to not make money. Games started going down. How come? Game Boy, Nintendo. All the kids had better games at home than they did in my arcades. And I saw in the wealthy neighborhoods, the games revenue started to go down in the game. In the not so wealthy neighborhoods, I saw the revenue stay the same, but I knew it was only a matter of time. In the not so wealthy neighborhoods, they just couldn't afford to buy the $400 Xbox. You know, at that time it was an Xbox. I knew I had to do something else. Let's go back to Albert Simon. All of a sudden it clicks in my head. The only thing in the game rooms that still kept making money were the photo booths. Those old chemical photo booths. The revenue there stayed the same. So I said, that's a niche market. How do we do that? So with that, you now have 40 years of my dad, myself being in the industry, and where we are. 1995, I said, we're going to go into the photo booth business. Problem was, I didn't manufacture a photo booth. I don't know how to manufacture a photo booth. And I couldn't buy a photo booth. Nobody manufactured a new one anymore. We found a company in Japan. We imported the machines, and we started selling them. That's how we got into the photo booth business. That's how it. But here's the important thing: the business model. All right. Let's go back to Albert Simon. And this is really important. Whatever you do when you're in business is to have a long plan. Have a plan on what you're going to do. And you need to see the plan 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. That's what I saw. I said, I saw what Albert Simon saw. He saw a good business model, and that's what made sense. And that's what made sense to me. So what did I do? We developed a photo booth that could only use our proprietary film. We went to Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi makes us a printer that only uses our medium. We now have over 10,000 machines out in the field around the world. People buy our machine, and they have to buy the film. I didn't do what Albert Simon did because I didn't have the money at the time to own all the machines and give them away for free. He had a lot more money than I did at the time. But what I did is we sold the machines. So we got the money, we could build more. We started with a few. We started with 10. We went to 20. Then we went to 30. Then we went to 40. We kept using them to build more and more machines. Like I said, at this point now, we have machines in every Regal movie theater. We have them in SeaWorld. We have them in Major League Baseball this year. I'm going to go back to relationships because I think it's real, real important. When I was 17 years old, I went off to college. There's a little kid that lived next door to me. I gave him my baseball cards. I don't know if any of you guys collect baseball cards in your generation? No. My generation, we collected baseball cards. It was the thing to do. When I went off to college, I gave him my box of baseball cards. That kid was 6 years younger than me. So he was 10, 11 years old, and I was 17. Fast forward 20 years, he becomes president of Topps Baseball. You've heard of Topps Baseball cards? They're the ones that manufacture these cards. Sent a letter to my son, who's now 12 or 13 at the time. It says, you don't know me, but I used to live next door to your dad. Enclosed, please find a box of baseball cards for this year's baseball, for this season. Well, it turns out that that relationship over the years, because I treated him right when I was young, and I did the right thing, I taught him how to play ball, I played balloon when he was a kid, he remembered that. He remembered the relationship that I had with him. And he thought enough to go back and send something to my son. I then reached out, spoke to him, and I said, boy, of course my mind in business, what do I think? Take photos with players. How do we make Topps Baseball go into a photo booth? Anyhow, make a long story short, we reconnected after many years later. The relationship was just as strong years later as it was back then, because when you build a good relationship with someone, it's like if you didn't see him for 10 or 20 years, it stays there. And in business, that helps. In business, that comes back to help you over and over again. How many of you in this class will remain friends in 5, 10, 15 years? How many of you can help each other? Think about it. So how you talk to each other, how you interact with each other, it all works. Talk to each other, work with each other. It's going to pay off in the end. It's really going to pay off. His contacts got us the MLB contract. He was in baseball, photo booths. Hey, you know what? I know the people at MLB. They may want photo booths in all the stadiums. We're going to do millions of dollars a year this year because of that relationship. Something to keep in mind. Faceplace brand, I'm just going to go through the rest of this really quick. I know we only have a certain amount of time. Faceplace brand. Branding is really, really important as you get larger and as you get past the beginning stage. I started to think, how do we brand? Well, the Faceplace name was actually started by Polaroid. We bought that. It started in 1972. They started that name. It was a great name. You saw the name Apple Industries. Well, Apple Industries, we were around before Apple was. Okay, the other Apple. I wanted to differentiate ourselves. So we saw this that Polaroid had Faceplace. So we made a deal with Faceplace and we acquired the name Facebook. Then Facebook came along, but that's a whole other. So I'm not changing the name again, that's it. We resurrected it, again, back to relationships. A friend of mine, with a co-founder of Atari, I heard you mention Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs worked for this gentleman. He originally started, his first game actually was called Breakout. He made it at Atari, working for Atari. But that's another story for that whole thing. And I went through the 10,000. Real quick, all goes back to relationships and how you interact with people. When the company started to buy and bring machines in, it was through a company called SNK out of Japan. The relationship that I built with them allowed us to continue doing business with them in a very large scale. Started off small, but do the right thing in life, and it works out. Another situation, AMI Entertainment. How many people here have gone? Well, you're all underage, but you know what a jukebox is, okay? We collaborated with a company called AMI. They were one of the world's largest manufacturers of jukeboxes. Came up with an idea. You're standing in front of the jukebox. Why can't it take your photo? Why can't it do two things? It's a novel idea, a little innovative, a little bit of a game changer, a little bit something different than the ordinary. New product. Eventually, we moved to larger quarters. Why did we move to larger quarters? We moved to larger quarters because research and development is really, really important. As you get larger, your competitors, if you have a good item, something works well with, whatever you guys go into, whatever, if you do well, people are going to copy you. People are going to try to do what you do. So you've got to be careful to make sure that you're ahead of the game. So we realized that. So in 2011, we expanded our research and development, and we're now on the cutting edge. What did we do with our photo booths? You can now go to Facebook, you can go to email, you can tweet out your messages. We have green screen in our photo booths. We're doing a lot of different things that just never happened in photo booths before. So it's real important to stay on the cutting edge. Okay, so that's what we did. Oh, one of the most simple things we did in a photo booth, the old photo booths that used to go into, what did you do? You went in, 4 or 5 people, you thought it was a Volkswagen, you went in, try to squish it there, take as many people as you can, you take a picture, and you walk out with one photo strip, right? And you would all walk down, you leave all happy sharing it, and maybe you'd rip it and pass it out to each other, you know, little pieces. Like I said, the photo booth's been around 120 years. Why didn't anyone think of saying, would you want to buy a second copy? Or a third copy, or a fourth copy? You have the customer inside the photo booth already. Why didn't anyone think of it? So sometimes the simplest things are the best ideas. That concept doubled the income of the company. Doubled the income of the company. We put that into our photo booths. Everybody is buying second and third copies. We call it upsell. We use the photo booth. We said, what else can we do with the photo booth? How do we get customers? How do we get people interested in that product? We love photo. We know everybody loves it, but how do we get mainstream America into photo booths? How do we get them? How do we get SeaWorld? How do we get Regal Movie Theater? How do we get MLB? How do we get these people to look at us? Branding. The branding. We don't go to their sales department. We go to their marketing department when we go to sell our product. We go to their marketing department. So look, you want to get your product on Facebook, on your customer's Facebook page, you need to put a photo booth in there. If you put the photo booth in there, it's going to have your logo on the fourth frame. It's going to have your logo right there. When they put it up on their personal Facebook account, they're advertising for you. So we had to find a different way, another way to get in for these people to talk to us. That was our niche.
That is so brilliant.
You got to find another
To
niche.
walk in the other company and have them pay for it is really beyond.
So they don't care how much money we give them when we install the machine into their facility, because the branding is worth that much more. Of course they want the money, you know, they want a commission on what the machine brings, but that's not really the deciding factor for them. But the deciding factor for them is that we can help promote their business. So the branding was a good marketing tool for us. Again, this just shows you what we do. You all know what Facebook looks like, but that's what it looks like on their customers.
I'm not sure if you emphasized enough, Alan's photo booths were the first photo booths to allow you to upload to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which made it so brilliant because, you know, most people, including Alan, would be worried that today with your selfie and your phone, that it was gonna put him out of business. And he's gonna tell you why he's not so worried about that.
That's good, that's a good point. How many of you actually print your photos? No.
Wow.
That's what makes a photo booth special. So if the photo booth did not print, it would be like yourself. So there are two things that are going on with the photo booth. And we realize it. Like I said, it's not a new idea, but we analyze what our product was. First thing is that when you close those curtains, people get silly. They like it. Second thing is that it prints. And when it prints, this generation doesn't know what it prints is. Okay? So that's what's going to keep the photo. Those two things are going to keep the photo booth alive. The other stuff that we added into it, that just gets us into the door to sell that product. It doesn't really make us any more money. What makes us money is you going into the machine and putting money in there and it printing out that print. But how do I get the machines into these locations? How do I get these large chain accounts interested in us? That's where we use the Facebook and the technology. I'm going to go back to relationships one real quick second. Got a guy that works for us. He's a research, his name is Michael Bloomfeld, research and development, head of research and development. At 17 years old, his father was a mechanic in a bowling alley in Brooklyn, Maple Lanes in Brooklyn. His father was the head technician there. Asked me if I could give his son a job. I said, what do I need? 17-year-old for 2 months in the summer. I'm going to have, by the time I teach him what to do in this, he's going to be off to college. So it's a lot of work to do to have someone work and teach them. But it's good to give back. So we gave back. Mike came to work with us. Fast forward 10 years, Mike became an engineer and he helped design, you see the cameras when you go through a red light, they're called red light cameras. He was the 30th employee in that company that designed that. Everybody hates it. I asked him, how can you fix it for me, if I go through a red light? He said, you know what his answer was? I hate him even more for now. He says, don't go through the red light. There's no way around it. But 10 years later, fast forward 10 years later, I called his dad. I said, listen, I need to build an R&D team, and I know your son is got this huge job of, working for this company. I need to talk to him. Help me hire some people. I need to know what to do. How do I hire an R&D team? He said, well, my son happens to be in town. He lived in Arizona, he happened to be in town. Puts his son on the phone. He says, well, let me come in, I'll talk to you. I'll come to your office. Next day he comes to my office, he walks out, he says he'll work for me. So he loved working for me when he was 17 years old. He wants the job. So relationships are important, okay? He was the best man for the best job. I couldn't have hired a better person. He's the guy that put the team together. He had the experience. He's the guy that put the team together to develop the Facebook, the email, the tweeting, and everything else that we have going on, going fast forwarding 5 or 6 years. So again, I'm going to go back to relationships. It's real important, real important. This is a new product that we have now. It's called Pix Place. It's a freestanding, we call it an open air booth. We'll see how it does. We just showed it in Las Vegas at an AMOA show. We got really good reviews. We use green screen. You can see what it does. It does 4x6s, 6x9 prints. It's going to be a game changer in the photo in our industry. You can see some of the type of pictures that it can do. Again, we go back to relationships. Okay, my relationships continue to grow. They just grow in different ways. Some of them are new relationships, and some of them are caused by old relationships. This is one of my favorites, Nathan. Okay, we all know that Nathan. Everybody's eating a Nathan hot dog here. Well, last summer I went to Nathan's, and my daughter wanted to bring, I think it was 4 friends from Ohio, college students. They wanted to go to Nathan's. I said, I'll drive you. We got in the car, we went to Nathan's. I really wanted a hot dog. Drove them down to Nathan's. Got online, took us a half hour to get the hot dogs. It was packed, it was 90 degrees on a Sunday. We sat down outside. They had those little tables outside. We sat down, we had hot dogs there. I see a guy walk by, he's wearing a suit and tie. And he's talking to a woman that says Nathan's manager. Picked up the stuff on the table, I noticed this, I throw it in the garbage. Me being who I am, so I'm going over to talk to this guy, he needs a photo. I didn't talk to him for more than 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Told my photo booth does Facebook, email, tweets. We could put it outside. We have an outdoor photo booth. And it's going to advertise for you. Gives me his card, VP of Nathan's. He says, can you have a machine here by Wednesday? I said, absolutely. He says, call me tomorrow, meaning Monday. He says, get it here by Wednesday. I go back. I said, thank you very much. Not 5 minutes. Sit down next to my daughter. I show her the card. I said, we just got a new account. So don't be shy out there either. Don't be shy. Be willing to speak up. What's the worst you could have said to me? No. Big deal. So with that, and you can see all these different accounts that we have. It's relationships are important. Thank you very much. I hope I left
I have a couple of questions for Alan. Let me just tell you one quick story, all right? So I was so enamored when I met Alan a year ago. Growing up in Coney Island, I loved all of this stuff. I loved the photo booths. And so I said, Alan, we got to figure out a way to work together. I love the business. I love you. You're a great businessman. You work smarter than almost anybody I've ever run into. I said, I have a few connections. I said, how would you like to get into Simon malls? There are 5,000 malls all over the country. A friend of my son works there. I think he's somewhat of a big shot, about 25 years old. This all went down in the last month, maybe 2 months. So I call up my friend Deepak, and he's over in Simon Malls in Indianapolis in their corporate offices. I said to him, set us up with a meeting with the right guy so that we can get into the Simon Malls. And so while he's doing that, I call up my buddy who owns the Hudson store shops. How many of you know Hudson stock? Okay, they're in every station, airport, the whole bit. I said, we're going to put these photo booths, we're going to jam them into your stores, or maybe we'll put them on the outside of your place. But I was thinking, how could we do some business? Unfortunately, both of those situations did not work out for us. Hudson had a restriction in their lease, and Simon Mall said you have to deal with the individual mall owner, which we could do, but I was looking big scale, put out 1,000 machines and make money, because when you're selling paper, a little bit like selling soap and water in a car wash, there's a lot of money when you're selling paper in there. So I love Alan, I love the business, I continue to hope that we can work together in the future. Maybe we take a couple of questions.
Was it hard to build an initial team, like when you first started?
That's a great question. Was it hard to build a team? Building a team is probably the most important thing. One of the things that I've done in my life is I've always learned to replace myself. And that's important. If I had to give you advice, once you figure out how to do it, you got to find someone to replace yourself and then walk away from it. They're not going to do it as well as you in the beginning, but sometimes you find out that they actually do it better than you do.
The fixed place booth, that's outside. You don't go inside, right?
That's correct.
So when they take the photo, I saw you have some there, you said, well, green screen.
Right.
It replaces the background?
That's correct. So basically what that unit is designed for is we have to have a wall over there and the machine will stay here, okay? So it's an open standing, it's a freestanding unit, but it's meant to go into hotel lobbies.
Okay.
If you're going on vacation, it's meant to go in museums, aquariums, situations that are different than where you're standing.
Gotcha. I thought it was replacing the background, any background.
Well, we do. We have a photo booth called the Scene Machine, which is a sit-down photo booth, which has green screen, the same concept, but smaller backgrounds. So only 2 people or 3 people can go in that photo.
Right.
All over the world. As a matter of fact, we have next week. I'm leaving Saturday. I'm going to Dubai. I'm doing a trade show in Dubai. We have distributors in South Africa. We have distributors in Australia. We have distributors in Europe. We have distributors in Australia, I said Australia, Dubai, and South America.
For marketing, what's everywhere?
Yes, it's pretty universal.
Yes.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Photo booths are pretty universal. Okay, thanks very much, Alan, for coming in.